Hello, my name is Tom Durkee. Thanks for being here today. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you all, but I did want to make a short video and talk a little bit about my experience. I'm sure Koya has probably already explained who I am and what I did, but I want to share a little bit about myself and kind of some of the experiences I had this summer at the University of Massachusetts Law. So my name is Tom Durkee. I am currently serving as an assistant resident director at Salem State University in Salem, Massachusetts. Concurrently, I'm in my second year of the Master's in Education in Higher Education in Student Affairs program, again at Salem State University in Salem, Mass. So over the summer, I definitely wanted to pursue an ACUHO I internship. It was something that I had talked about with my director when I had gotten hired here, and it was something that we planned into my program so that I could take the summer away from the institution that I'm currently with. When I started searching, I definitely wanted to stay in the Boston area. This is kind of my professional home and a place that I want to um, grow professionally and develop a strong network. So that was really important to me in searching for an ACUHO internship. Um, However, when I started looking, I realized that a lot of practicum sites or ACUHO internship sites revolved around conferencing or special projects or orientation with the NOTA program. I had done orientation in undergrad. I had served as a conference assistant for a number of years in undergrad. And so that was something that I wasn't necessarily looking for. That was something that I had already kind of done and wanted something new. Um, when I had initially looked into the University of Massachusetts Lowell, Koya had actually reached out to me. It wasn't something that I even looked at. I think I probably scrolled past it a number of times on the site before actually giving it some attention, which is, I think, a nice um, part of a Kuhuai where you can kind of pursue what you want or think you want, and then supervisors can also reach out to you as a strong candidate. We had a living learning program here at Salem State last year. We have since dissolved that program. It is now just called the Themed Housing Program as we're trying to rebuild our programming model. We just launched a residential curriculum last fall, which I'm working on. So I wanted to kind of go to University of Massachusetts Lowell, see what they were doing with their program, and kind of bring some of that back here. And that's kind of what kind of pushed me toward that. So after I was hired, um, me and Koya tried to start building our relationship before the summer even started. And that kind of started at ACPA in Tampa this past spring. We had gotten to know each other a little bit there, kind of met up a few times informally, very socially, and just to kind of break the ice and kind of remove some of that awkwardness that can sometimes happen with working with someone new. And so that was really nice. I did go to ACPA alone, so kind of having somebody also there to chat with was beneficial, and I think aided in my overall professional development. Another thing that was really nice was that I'm local, and Koya was local as well. Lowell is about an hour northwest of Salem, so I was able to meet up with Koya prior to um, the internship starting. We got lunch together and things like that, and just talked a little bit about the institution. Talked about what the summer would look like. Talked about some staffing changes that were going to be happening there in the coming months, which was really nice to have prior to me getting there. And I really appreciated having that insight when I arrived there. It made the transition a little bit easier. Another thing was just because I was local, I didn't have to worry about learning the area as much. Not that I had spent much time in that area, but it definitely removed that piece a little bit. So I think one thing that Koya, however, was really concerned about was I going to be there? Was I going to be committed to it because I was local? And I think that's a valid concern for departments and supervisors. But giving somebody a chance that maybe does want to build their professional home in your neck of the woods might be nice. And we did have a pretty frank and candid conversation about that. And me as somebody that was like, no, I do want to stay around, but I want to be local. I have family obligations and things like that. And so I think it worked out nicely in the end. One thing that I really enjoyed was prior to the academic year ending last year, in the midst of hiring new grads and hiring new professionals, RAs, etc., Koya's office actually sent me a care package, which was really nice. I got a bunch of UMass little swag, and it just really made me feel at home even before I left. I was excited to be there. I had my hoodie on, wearing it around campus and things like that, and kind of sharing with my students what I was going to be doing over the summer because they were interested, especially with all of my closed door phone interviews for ACUHO I internships that they couldn't come in and visit for. So that was really nice. I think that's something that I would probably recommend if you're considering hiring an ACUHO I intern. Um, Definitely that made the transition a little bit easier as well. Just kind of backtracking on why I chose the internship at the end of the day over other things before I get into some of the nitty gritty of like what I did over the summer. Overall, I chose the internship because it was different, and I think there's so much value in hosting an ACUHO I intern to work with your living learning program. Um, I feel like I had great offers from other institutions to do conferences and to do special projects for them, but I wanted to push myself outside of my comfort zone, work on something that I really hadn't had much experience in my current role here. But also, it was appealing because it was different, and that's what makes it marketable. And I think that's what also attracts good candidates for that position. Students that may not want the norm and they want something different, and maybe they're a little bit more motivated to succeed in that role. So overall, that was kind of why I chose that. Once I arrived, however, I did start working on a number of projects. Right out of the gate, it was kind of trying to learn um, their program. I'm sure Koya has shared with you today that UMass Lowell's Living Learning Communities program is relatively large. I believe it was 11 communities, and then they were upping it to 16 for this academic year. So they were growing pretty exponentially prior to my arrival, and that was challenging to learn because it wasn't just learning. Okay, they have a health community, they have a artist community, they have a Greek community. It was definitely learning more of the dynamic of how many students does each one have? What does the faculty relationship look like? What are the politics that are shaping each community? And so, right when I got there, I really had to kind of pick Koya's brain a little bit, and he was great with that, and really let me explore their program in depth, and tried to help me to understand how some of them had been founded, where the status was with some of them. Some of them weren't doing that well. Some of them were on hiatus that had been there prior. So being able to understand some of that institutional culture was really helpful the first couple weeks, and that kind of set a nice foundation for the work that I did for the remainder of the summer. Another thing that I really did, which I am now really grateful for, so thank you, Koya, was I was able to assess programming data from these living learning communities and compile them into a number of reports, both quantitative and qualitative assessment of reports for campus administration and Koya's use as well, in order to market the program to campus partners and administration. Now I'm currently taking an assessment and evaluation course in my master's program, and I'm able to pull a lot of that knowledge that I gained over the summer um, in doing those projects in order to kind of talk a lot about the actual process of doing that. So it was very tedious going through a couple years of programming numbers, attendance, budget, things like that. Was it a social program? Was it actually connected to academia? Um, Different things like that. And that's what I included in those reports, tied them all back. And that was something that I was able to submit to Koya, and he was able to use. So I think that was a really tasky project. I was really nervous about failing. I hadn't used Excel that extensively in a number of years, but I think it turned out really well, hopefully. Another project that I was able to work on over the summer was updating some of the marketing and that they use around the campus for the Living Learning Communities program. UMass Lowell is really lucky in the fact that they have a resident graphic artist on staff in the Student Involvement Activities office. So that was something where I was able to pull some of my skills in undergrad. I did a graphic design concentration. So something that I was able to bring in some skills that I already had, and work with that individual to design some marketing, tweak it, give some feedback on it, and then also help to make sure that it was turned into banners and T-shirts and all types of programming, things like that for the office. That was a smaller project, kind of on the side, um, which led into a kickoff event that also I helped in planning. They at UMass Lowell they offer a kickoff event for their living learning community students. The living learning community students, excuse me, move in a day prior to the traditional student, and so they have a carnival style program for them. Each community has their own program. And really it's to get the student kind of involved and say like thank you for being in the living learning communities program. This is something special. This is something where you're going to get a lot out of it. So trying to help in a little bit of that organization of that was really beneficial. Large scale program planning, obviously, that's a skill that we all need in the field. So I was lucky to help out with that project. I think a lot of it was worked on by other folks. It was a big team effort. So I was able to focus my attentions there, but also do other things at the same time. So that was a really good opportunity as well to do that. Another thing that I really did that I enjoyed was get to meet some of the LLC partners on campus and work with them. Um, One conversation I can remember in particular was with the coordinator of the fitness center on campus. Her name was Diana, she's a very nice woman and had gone to UMass Lowell and was just very invested in the community and fitness and health and wellness. And that was a community called Get Wrecked, like wrecked, like recreation. Very clever. And she was actually going to be serving as that advisor. And Koya was great in scheduling meetings with campus partners for me. So I was able to kind of learn about the Living Learning program, but also learn about the institution more and getting to chat with her about some concerns that she had about she'd never really worked with students before. She didn't really know like what she was doing. She kind of picked my brain and was like, well, what would you do as somebody that has worked in a residence hall for a number of years? And so that was really exciting to get to meet with her. I was able to meet with the director of multicultural and diversity affairs, who had been at the institution for a year and was able to really give me some background about what the campus was like when it was open and there was, thousands of students on campus versus the few that were on campus for the summer. And some of the diversity initiatives from that office and how they were connecting back with what Residence Life was doing and what the community was going to be doing that was starting. It was called the Future Social Advocates Living Learning Community, and a lot of the ideas that she had and how she had worked with Koya to kind of make sure that they were built into the community. She was going to be also serving again as the advisor for that community. So she again had questions about living in the hall and doing things of that nature. So obviously, I think it depends on what your campus culture is like and what the political structure looks like. But if you can utilize this person, this intern, in that capacity and get them to learn how to carry a professional conversation with a director or other campus partners, but also allow them to aid your campus partners in understanding more so what that residential environment looks like. Because for some of them, that seems to be a concern and seems to be a little scary. So for me, it was great, and I think hopefully they got something out of it too. I did meet with a couple other offices in service just because the university was much bigger than the institutions I had been previously associated with. And I think that was something I shared with Koya and something that I wanted to get out of the summer. And he worked with me to make sure that that happened. So I was really appreciative of it. Um, and I think one of the biggest things that wasn't necessarily a direct project was that I was involved with all summer was the fact that we were very understaffed. We were doing a lot of searches for key positions in the organizational structure, and it was really it was busy. It was something where Koya had kind of warned me, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, we do searches too at Salem, but um, with just such a big department and so many initiatives going on, it was really cool to see how they utilize the interns in those processes. And it was nice to kind of be involved in those things, and to be treated, as a pseudo professional while you were there for a couple months. So first and foremost, we did have a number of people that had departed prior to the academic year ending. They had created a new coordinator position for living learning communities that we were interviewing for at the time. And then toward the tail end of the summer, they were also searching for a resident director. So um, just sitting in on these interviews. We had our own like section, ACUHO I interns, and their graduate students that were working for UMass Lowell. So being able to just sit in and kind of see what those processes look like, ask questions about the hiring process was really beneficial. And so I think involving your ACUHO I intern in not necessarily just the projects that they're working on, or what was kind of outlined in their job description, or their title dictates, but also involving them in some of those departmental processes um, that can be really useful overall in their career. So that was one thing that I was really excited to be a part of. Another thing was all hands on deck. It was the second year that UMass Lowell was doing conferences, and while I was not directly involved with that, that was my roommate. Um, I was pulled in a number of times to help out with those events because they were big. They just needed more people. The campus is large, so they are filling a lot of beds, and that was something where I think it kind of taught me that regardless of what my position title is in my future career, there's always going to be times where I need to kind of adapt to other projects and things that I might not be privy to and I might not know all the answers to, but lending a helping hand and being able to kind of just jump in and do a good job is really helpful and useful. So that was another thing that I did over the summer. Another great part of the ACUHI program, I think, is the relationship that you build with the other ACUHI interns. Um, I was paired with a student from the University of Wisconsin. Green Bay, I believe, was where he was doing his master's program and working at one of their 2-year institutions as a hall director, and just learning a lot about his culture, the way higher ed was working in Wisconsin, some of the issues they were having with their system and its funding structure, and kind of pairing that back to my experience with the structure that we have here in Massachusetts and how public higher ed is funded here. But just to be able to kind of learn and grow outside of the workplace and the work hours was really beneficial. I think I gained a lot from that. I just how to build those relationships and seek out support. We also worked with another intern who was working on orientation and family programs, and she was from Kansas and was doing her program in Illinois, and getting to understand her perspective a little bit of, again, the different political structures that kind of dictate higher education in Kansas and Illinois. And that was really beneficial as well. And just being able to kind of hang out with those people outside of the workplace was nice as well. So I think there's value in having these people live together, or just kind of creating opportunities for them to exchange information and engage in conversation, because I think it can be a nice supplement to the work that they're doing. Another thing was being challenged over the summer, but also supported. I think Koya and I developed a really strong relationship this past summer, which has carried on, I think, into this school year. I've been relatively busy. We've had a lot of staff turnover here, but I think we have, and Koya started a new position as well, but I think that we have maintained a really strong relationship, because the fact that I think, like any graduate student that you'll probably supervise or you have supervised in the past, um, there's an element of growth and an element of um, being naive and not understanding everything, but thinking that you do. Um, I'm definitely the first to admit that I can be that person sometimes, and I think it's nice to have mentors and supports in place like Koya, who have been in the field for a long time and can build that relationship with a younger professional and serve as a mentor to that person and help them to understand that, hey, maybe you don't know everything and it's okay to be wrong. And that was something that I think, had we not built the relationship we built, I may have been a little more, um, I may have hurt my ego a little more. But I think because we took the time to build that great relationship, I was able to learn a lot, not just about the Living Learning Community Program, but also just how to carry myself as a professional, how to say the right thing and not say, the wrong thing, and how to interact with the director, the other associate directors, um, and just the political game of residential life and higher education, and just some life skills along the way was really nice. And so it was high challenge, but also high support. And I really appreciated that. And I think that that's something that kind of hopefully will just come with the relationship, and hopefully the right person gets into that role and hopes to gain and grow from their experience. I know that was what I kind of seeked out to do, and now I think I have a really strong mentor um, in my realm, and so somebody that I can reach out to for professional support, hopefully for a long time in my career, has been really nice. And another thing that I was able to do that kind of was the cherry, if you can say, on top of my summer, even though it happened in the middle, was getting to attend the ACUHO conference that was hosted at Worcester Polytechnical Institute. Um, this was something that was already kind of built into the job contract that I had initially reviewed. And this was something that I was really excited about, because I knew it was a great professional development opportunity, and it was something that was built into the compensation. So I didn't have to worry about going. Obviously, for any graduate student that's in a master's program, they are obviously strapped for cash and resources. So it was nice to be able to have some professional development offsite built into the compensation. And I really appreciated that Koya took the time to be intentional with offering that opportunity, because I think for whoever would have been in that role, whether it have been myself as somebody that works in New England, or whether it had been somebody that worked in California or Florida or Texas, um, they would have gotten a small taste of what ACUHO I has to offer overall, but also kind of what was going on in New England, and seeing how other institutions were also offering similar programs or how they weren't. And that was really nice. It was great to be able to go there, network with folks, talk about how to be a better advisor, how to be a better supervisor, how to, navigate the job search process. And so those were things that I may not have necessarily gotten on site just because it was so busy and we were doing so much. But I think because Koya was intentional in doing that, I was able to gain a lot from it. And so I would encourage, if you are going to create a position or host an ACUHO I intern, um, seek out professional development that's happening over the summer in your area, and see if that's something that's viable for your budget and for your department to offer up to that person. I think it makes the position a little more attractive. It adds something to that person's resume on top of the internship. Shows that they went to conference, and they were involved, and they've bumped elbows with other people. I think a big part of what I've learned is just connecting and chatting with as many people as you can in the field, and hopefully that will pay off for the intern as well as your office. So overall, I hope that gave you a little bit of insight into some of my experiences over the summer. Again, I do apologize for not being able to be there today. I would like to thank Koya in this public forum that I'm not at, for being just a great mentor and for picking me to be his intern over the summer. I couldn't have asked for a better ACUHO I internship, and I think it really prepared me not only to hopefully work with living learning programs in the future in my career, but also just how to be a better professional overall. So I hope that was helpful for you all, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I'm going to hand it back to Koya, but I hope you all have a great remainder of the conference and have a safe trip home when you do head home.